Let's check. Mic's on, file is shared, looks good to go. All right, let's go through problems 12 and 13 from chapter 31. So our first step here is to find the cost of capital for the PL shareholders. And if you don't mind, I'll call the acquiring company LP and I'll call the target PL. And PL has an expected dividend of 80 cents, a price of 20, and expected to grow at 6. So therefore that gives it a 10% cost of capital. And then 10% cost of capital, and then we revalue the company based on 8% growth, and we should get $40 as the value of the company. All right, so then we answer the questions. What's the merged value? And that would be 114 million. So we have $90 per share times a million shares plus $40 per share. That's what LP thinks that PLAS is worth. So that gives the merged entity a value of 114 million. The value of separate entities is $90 a share for LP and $20 a share for PLAS. A total market value at the current prices of 102 million. So there's a gain from the acquisition of $12 million. And then what's the cost? Well, the cash offer is $25. So basically offering $25 for an asset that any of us could buy for $20. So therefore there's a cost of $5 per share or $3 million. And again, this is an item that the authors don't point out, nor do they ask for it. And so this is the net difference. So it's a 12 gain, a 3 cost, right? What do I do with that difference? Well, let's try something here. So I'm going to say that LP is currently worth $90 a share, and if this merger goes through as we have evaluated, then they'll gain another net of $9 million. And if I divide that by the million shareholders, I get a price of $99. All right, $99. So yeah, this difference is actually, you know, what they gain in value. And the way your book would show you to do the same thing would be to say that the merged entity is worth 114 million, and then we'll subtract the $25 per share that LP paid for PLAS, so that's 600,000 shares. And then if we again divide this, let's make this a difference. So we'll parenthesize this and divide it by a million shares. That's the same thing exactly. Okay, so the wealth effect is that the LP shareholders, they would gain, what do we have them down for? We had them down for $90 a share. And so they've gained $9 per share. Okay, then what's the wealth effect to the PLS shareholders? Well, they gain $3 million because they have shares that are worth 20 in the open market, and the offer is $25 per share. They gain $5 per share. So the cost of acquiring them to LP is the gain to PLAS, or $3 million. So this is not quite the same as the example that I used. In this case, the target gains $3 million. The acquiring company gains $9 million. So, okay, so it's a little bit different. All right, then we're going to do a 1-for-3 share offer. So if you have 3 shares of Plastitoys, after the merger, you will have 1 share of LP, of Leisure Products. All right. So post shares, you'll start with $1 million, and then we will authorize an additional, if they're not already authorized, we'll use up another 600,000 of the shares divided by, or I'm sorry, 600,000 of the PLS shares divided by 3. So this is the 1-to-3 split, and we'll have 1,200,000 shares total. And again, I don't know why the book doesn't emphasize this, but I just find a great deal more comfort in understanding what's going on if I can find the post-merger price as soon as possible. So I have 1.2 million shares. I have $114 million in total value. So therefore, this should settle at $95 per share. Okay. Then we can evaluate the wealth effects of the two parties. So the new shares, so the former PLAS shareholders now have 200,000 shares of LP. All right. And basically, the value of the offer, since the price would settle at $95 per share times 200,000 shares, they've offered them $19 million in value. So I guess in the example, I would have labeled this, what did they receive and what did they give up? They gave up 600,000 of their shares that had a market value of 20, so they gave up 12 million. So in this case, they are 7 million ahead, and that's how much of a premium that LP is paying for PLAS. Another way to view this, the value of the offer is $19 million, so they're basically offering PLAS $19 million for their 600,000 shares, which sometimes they would, or in the Wall Street Journal or other financial press would say if this offer is worth equivalent to $31.67 a share. So in other words, if I take the 19 million, divide by 600,000, it's $31.67 a share. So they're paying, in effect, $31.67 a share for shares with a market value of $20. So they have what looks like $11.67 premium on 600,000 shares. That would be $7,000 cost. So you could do it either way. All right. Then what happens if the expected improvement in growth does not occur? And we're supposed to evaluate both of the offers. So one offer would be the cash offer, and with the cash offer, the PLAS shareholders, former PLAS shareholders, are long gone. They accepted $45 for each of their shares that had a market value of $20. So therefore, PLAS no longer exists, and the former shareholders have $45 for each share that they formerly owned. Okay, now what's the wealth effect? Well, first of all, let's find the price. So in this case, without the growth, these companies merged are worth no more than the sum of their separate values. So we go back up here. We did that already, so I didn't have to redo it. So this is what they were worth as separate entities. And that's what they'll be worth if they can't create the synergies. Okay. So combined shares, the new shares, this is a bit misleading. Maybe I shouldn't call it combined shares, but why don't we change this? What in the world? I can't seem to type. Post-merger shares. There's only one company post-merger, right? It's just about one company. So the post-merger shares are 1.2 million. And if you distribute that among a total value of 102 million, that equates to $85 a share. Okay, so let's do the PLAS shareholders wealth effects, former, I should say, former PLAS shareholders. They are now what? They are now LP shareholders. So the former shareholders received $85 per share for their 200,000 shares, or 17 million. They gave up 600,000 shares. That would be worth $20 a share, or that would be 12 million. So that would be a gain of $5 million. Okay, what's the wealth effect to LP? Well, LP, now I made this little note here. Let me point this out. Okay, this is the gain to the former Placitoy shareholders, right? This is the loss to the original LP shareholders. These are all in the same family now, aren't they? Right? So PL no longer exists. Everybody now who is part of this merger has only LP shares, right? Okay, so they, prior to the merger, had a price of 90. It has dropped to 85 post-merger, and therefore they lost $5 million. Okay, so I'm comparing the wealth effect to the original LP shareholders. Okay. And so the new LP shareholders, that would be the former PL shareholders, they're better off by $5 million with this merger. And if they want to realize that gain, if this was indeed the market price, if it settled at $85, they could liquidate right away, and they would be $5 million better off than they were before the merger. Okay. On the other hand, the LP shareholders, if they were to liquidate their shares, they would be $5 million worse off, wouldn't they? So they probably don't want to do that right now, if they still believe in their company. All right, let me see if I have anything I can answer for you. Let's see, any questions? All right, okay. So anything on number 12 I can do again. All right, well, let me go then to number 13. All right, number 13. This is the table I suggested that you would start from the bottom. So we have the market values of $9 million, that's given. We have the earnings, and that's given. All right, so if we were to take these earnings per share, or these earnings, total earnings, and create earnings per share of 2.67, that would imply a total number of shares for the company of 262,172. Right? And then I guess we got to jump up one here. Let's get a price. So if we have 9 million in value, that's right here. We have 9 million in value, and we distribute this among 262,172 shares. That implies a single share value of 34.33. Now I have the settled price after the merger. I have the earnings that we set up as 267, and therefore 34.32 divided by 33 divided by 267 we got a PE ratio of 12.85. All right. So the next question B asks for the exchange ratio. Well, the WE company, that would be the acquiring firm, will increase their shares to 262,172. They have, excuse me, they originally had shares of 100,000. They'll offer 162,172 to the WA. So the exchange ratio is basically 0.81 shares of WE for each share of WA. All right, so what's the value of the offer? So WA will be receiving 162,172 shares, which should value at $34.33, making the value of the offer $5,567,143. Prior to the merger, their value was $5 million. So they should see a gain of $567,143. So that's basically the cost of the merger. And how much does WE lose on this? Well, they were worth 100,000 shares at $40 a share. They were worth $4 million prior to the merger. The market value post-merger, they have the same 100,000 shares that are now dropped to $34.33. And so their loss is $567,143. So yes, the loss and the cost are equal. So these parts should come out equal. And that should do it. So let me check in for any questions on this one. All right. Well then, I guess all that remains is if I can just say a few words about the final. It'll be between 3 and 5 next Tuesday. The exam window will open at 3. It'll close at 5. So if you want the full 2 hours, you have to begin promptly at 3. Even though this is no longer of a test than the previous 3, I will give you the full 2 hours to work it. All right. You will have 10 questions dealing with mergers. So as you've seen in the past, you'll have a block of given information with 10 questions to follow on mergers. I'm sorry, we're doing leasing right now. We have the first part will be on leasing. 10 questions, a block of given information followed by 10 questions on leasing. You'd be responsible for finding the maximum payment that the lessee should be willing to make, the minimum payment that the lessor should be willing to accept. You would also be responsible for finding the NPV of a lease for the lessor, the NPV of the lease for the lessee. Now, what will be different about the exam compared to, say, the assignment, and I mentioned this, I'll reiterate this, is that on the exam, your lessee will not have a zero tax rate. In all 3 of the questions that we work for the assignment on leasing, the lessee had a zero tax rate. Not this time. So the question will be more in line with the example that I worked in class, and that you'll find in the Word document. All right, and then when it comes to mergers, you'll have again a block of given information followed by 10 questions. And I'm fairly confident that I don't have enough time to ask questions from both problems 12 and 13. So I will, or the format of the exam will be that the questions will come from, or will look very similar to either problem number 12 or problem number 13, but not both. There will be obviously aspects, wealth effects, those kinds of things, that would be common to both either 12 or 13, or my examples for that matter. But we will not do both. I remember when I had paper exams, I had a young man one time taking this exam, and he was just sweating and looked uncomfortable. And I asked, do you want a drink of water, or can I offer you? Back then it was when everybody seemed to have a cold, so I actually brought Kleenexes to the class, and I said, would you like a Kleenex, a tissue? Oh, no, I'm fine. I said, oh, what's going on? He said, well, I just guessed it would be like this one, and you put the other one on the test. So all I say is don't try to outguess me. Make sure you're very comfortable with either one of these. In addition, we asked another type of question on the examples that I worked for you, and that question was that type of question was if the acquiring company were to maintain its current price, how many shares can it offer? Okay, we didn't have that here in these two, but you should be able to do that too. So if the acquiring company is to protect its current price, what's the most shares it can possibly offer? All right? And then from that, once you have that, you should be able to tell me if that were the case, what would the earnings per share be, just like we did in class. All right. So 20 questions altogether. You have the entire 2 hours to work it under the assumption that you start promptly at 3. So I put a 2-hour time limit on it, 120-minute time limit on it. And you may have the full 120 minutes, assuming that you start at 3. So any last questions I can entertain at this point? Be very happy to answer any questions. Problem 12, problem 13, anything about leasing, anything about that we've covered since the last exam? All right, well, if I don't have any questions, I have no reason to keep you any longer. I will stick around in case someone comes up with a question. I'll stay around for about another 5 minutes, but otherwise, if you don't have a question, you are certainly free to leave the room, or the virtual room, whatever. Anyway, sounds good. Those are leaving. Good luck on the final, and I hope the class will help you in your next group of finance classes. All right, and may the force be with you. All right. Yeah, same to you. Yep. Thank you. I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I'll do the regular office hours on Monday. Yep, I can do that. You're welcome. Adios, everybody.